This is my buddy Roman, and this is Roman's Roadmap to Success video, a summary of what we covered today. Yes, and he is a very oral fixated dog. He likes to pick that up and keep it in his mouth. It might keep him from barking, and it helps. A lot of dogs have oral fixation, just kind of like some humans do for smoking and other things. So when he picks that up, I would celebrate that. So come up with a word that means pick that one particular thing up. There's something called the differential game, which is where you name all the individual toys. So this one you call it Mary, for Mary had a little lamb, or whatever you want. So come up with a name for each little thing. This could be little monkey man, or whatever it is. And so the idea is there's a fun game that you can do once you've taught the dog that what those are. Put 3 of them on the ground, say the name of Mary, and he just got to grab the right one. You say yes and give him the treat. And so the way you would do that is since he seems to like things that are thrown, I would say Mary and throw it. And when he picks it up, say yes, then go over there and just scratch, give him a pet. You can give him a treat, but that might cause him to drop it. All right, let me go through a linear order of how we started this session. He already has a marker word of yes, and so we were able to skip that. I'll put, probably will put my video to training hand targeting. Remember, when you say the cue first, so touch, then chop your hand. When he touches it, say yes the instant he touches his hand, and then leave the hand there and put a treat on your hand. Don't give him the treat directly. That way we can teach him to follow our hand around. It helps with luring a lot of other exercises, and it's just a nice way. So instead of him punching and then looking for something else, he's staying with that hand. Isn't that right? Yes, handsome. Okay, let me see. We also, remember there's 4 parts to a cue. There's the cue, the label, like sit. Then there's the action, the dog sitting down. Then there's the marker, the 3rd part. And then, yes. And then there's the pet, the treat, or the affection. That's the reward. But when we're teaching a dog, remember we usually do the 4th or the 1st step last. If you're teaching a dog to sit, you just lure him into a sit, say yes. Don't say sit, just lure them, because he doesn't know where the word sit is until you put it in context. That's what using the marker word does. So every time his bottom hits the ground, you say yes, then he gets a treat, take a step back to get him up out of that sit and repeat. You shouldn't say the cue or introduce the cue unless you're 90% certain when you say it once, the dog is going to do the response. And if you say sit and the dog doesn't sit, don't repeat it. The more you say it, the less you mean it. Also remember, if the marker, half of how dogs learn once they have a marker in place is not being rewarded. So if I tell him to sit and he lays down, I don't say anything. And that causes him to try to offer another behavior to get me to do it. I forgot to ask this. I can't believe I forgot to ask, because this is usually one of the first things I ask when dogs jump up. Does he know how to shake? Okay, don't teach him that because it promotes jumping. A lot of people like, dogs like, you like this, you must really like this. All right, so we went over, so that's the 4 components of a cue. So when you're teaching a new cue, just lure the dog into it without saying the label until it's easy to do it, and do it boom, 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 get some rhythm. And then once he's doing it automatically, then just say sit, lure, yes, treat. And so that you're kind of sneaking the cue in first. Remember, the label of the cue always comes before the action. It's like giving directions. I can't tell somebody to turn left after we pass the street. So you say left, then the dog turns left, then you say yes and give them the treat. Don't drive. All right, so what else do we go over? We also went over celebrating. Celebrating is probably the most underrated skill exercise to go with over my clients. It builds their confidence. It helps the dog practice listening to you. It helps practice basic obedience. It helps the human's timing. And if you get in a habit of doing it, after a couple months, you will be rewarding your dog for the desired behaviors without even thinking about it. It becomes a gift. But remember, anything your dog is doing right before you give it attention, and attention can be, gosh darn it, don't do that, or here's a treat or a pet. Whatever your dog you do after your dog, whatever your dog does, and you give them reward afterwards, that's what you're specifically rewarding them for. So celebrate the things that your dog does that you like. Eye contact, sitting, laying down, coming to you, going to Oaxaca, dropping things, rewarding peeing and pooping outside. The more that you reward those things, the more he kind of will offer those behaviors. And now we're teaching the dog sitting is a great way to get attention. Laying down, coming to me is a great way to get attention. Getting in the trash or jumping up, that causes the people to just be the most boring people ever. So remember, your attention is a currency. Pay him for the things that you want. Withhold your funds for the things that he doesn't want. Just blink. And if you have to, you can leave. And we talked about that, I guess, in the video above. All right, let me see. We also talked about the companion part of that, which is the manners lesson. So he comes up and he loves to shove his nose to tell you to pet him. Now, he does that a lot. He's probably saying, I'm bored or I'm under exercise. I need some stimulation. So do this exercise first, and then after that, take him for a walk, give him a carrot or whatever it is. So what I do is if he's nudging me, I tell the dog to sit or to lay down. Don't tell him to shake. I tell him one time, he has 3 seconds to do it. If he does it, I say yes and pet him. If he doesn't do it, I go back to do whatever it was I was doing, play video games, check my email, watch TV, whatever it is. So you're not saying, he's not getting attention by like, oh, you didn't do it, you're not getting attention, buddy. That's attention, that's giving him a reward. So instead, you do what I want, you get a reward. If you do what you want, you party on, dude. I don't care. I'm not mad at you, but you don't get the reward. That's different than punishing him, but that's paying him for the job that you want. Let me see. So those things work interchangeably. Say celebrate to each other. Celebrate is your cue that you missed an opportunity to reward. And if somebody says celebrate to me, I say yes and pet him under his chin. I don't need to know what it is. I'm going to take her word for it. Say manners. If you see he was jumping up or getting petted on somebody and they're not paying attention, they're watching TV and they're petting him while he's jumping up. Manners means you stop. That person tells him to sit. You give great side eye. You say sit. If he sits, you say yes and pet him under his chin. If he doesn't, you go back to doing what you're doing. And so these things work hand in hand. Eventually, he'll start sitting in front to pay for attention. When he does, make sure you watch for that. Because if you don't, the jump is coming. Like I said earlier, when you came in, our camera person is the person who likes to jump up the most. And he came in, he ran up to her, and he sat down for half a second. She didn't pet him, so he launched himself up in her face. So he's trying to offer the things, but he has so much energy, it's hard for him to control himself. Yes, do you want belly rubs? It's hard to understand what you want. So remember, your timing of your marker needs to be precise. You have 3 seconds after he does it to mark, but your really goal should be to mark simultaneously. As soon as the butt hits ground, yes, then we give the treat. The longer you go away from the point of contact, the far harder it is for him to make a connection or for something else to happen and him get it confused. So try to work on that. Let me see what else. We went over the celebrate game. We went over dog consent and cutoff signals. So remember, petting on top of the head, they interpret this as domination. No dog likes it when you start petting on top of the head. None. So if you want to start petting him, pet him here, almost like the sign of the cross. Now you can pet him here, and you can work up to the top of his head, and he can like it. Scratching is different, but patting and starting on top of the head, all dogs interpret that as dominance. So remember, and for him, for outside, if a dog is staring at him, especially when you're doing engage, disengage, he's gonna be more likely to be reactive to that dog. So your job when you're outside walking, look at the other dogs and are they staring at him? If so, then maybe do the find it away that we showed you, or we do a U-turn, or just move away. So if you take care of his problem, he doesn't have to. I think the reactivity is a lot of times happens because he feels like I've got to take care of it. All right, yes, you want to come over here? Yeah. Come here. Sit. So I didn't go over this in a session, but I like to incorporate some impulse control for fetch. So how I place the fetch is I make him sit first, then I say the cue next. I'm going to say fetch, then I throw it. When he goes and gets it, I'm going to have it sneak out a treat. When he arrives, I say yes and hold the treat out. Yes. I shouldn't have said yes the second time. So I don't take it away from him. Then I ask for some impulse control. Sit, yes. Fetch, yes. Oh, I don't have to say yes there. Yes. Sit. Fetch. And if he goes, there we go. Let's see if he dropped. Now he dropped it before he came to me. There's no reward for that because he's not completing. I'm not saying yes. He's not getting the reward. So if he does that, that again creates motivation. I didn't hear yes and I didn't get the reward. What did I do differently? And next time he'll bring you the object. But fetch is a great way to burn energy, but building a little bit of impulse control can be really helpful. All right, let me see. What else do we go over? Oh, that's gonna be my water, buddy. That's for me to drink, not for you to crinkle. Let me see. We also went over some creative exercise tips. The Guardians are going to be using a snuffle mat, which is a wonderful way to work for their food. We also went over cookie in the corner. That's where I was throwing those treats. We went over box enrichment. So the box enrichment, get a box no taller than half the distance of his front legs. Throw treats in there, and every time he licks one up, say yes. Then eventually get your pieces of dog confetti. Get like 30 or so pieces. You can get it at LA Times and get it cut, or you just tear it yourself. Fill up that box and fluff it up, and then throw in a handful of pieces of his kibble. Every time he finds one, he starts chewing, say yes. So you're marking, searching for it. You can even say search as you throw the treats in there. Eventually, then you would get a piece of paper, put a piece of kibble on it, crumple it, put another piece of kibble, crumple again. You should be able to get about 5 to 7 pieces of kibble or treat in there, in the wad. Throw that in the box, put the dog confetti on top of it, as well as some loose treats. Again, it gives them a lot of things to work on. Next step is that wad, put it in a toilet paper tube. Put another treat in, grab another wad, put that in, another treat in between the wads. And so toilet paper tube, you can get 3 wads. The paper towel tube, usually get about 7 to 9. And so you can put those in there with the dog confetti and the loose treats. So he'll get the loose treats first, then he'll get this. He's got to unwrap that. If you have spaghetti, the spaghetti boxes, you can use the same thing, put those wads in there. You ever get bully sticks or stuff like that? Mm-hmm. So put those, a box inside of a box, inside of a box, like a Russian nesting doll. And he's just sitting there chewing and destroying all this stuff. And it's a great way for him to drain energy, keep him occupied. You have guests come over, you're doing a weird dinner or something like that, give him something else to do so he's occupied. There's all sorts of DIY enrichment. If you're on Facebook, search for DIY enrichment. There's a whole bunch of other things that you can get for him that don't involve him finding things or eating things. There's a lot of different things you can do. Like I said, the shell game under the solo cups, things like that. And if you Google scent games, try to find 3 or 4 scent games you can do. After you do a couple, you'll start getting all sorts of ads for scent games for like $500. Just find some 3 or 4 free ones on YouTube or Google first. If he shows that he's got proclivity for it, then you might get him involved in some scent work, barn hunts and stuff like that. That's a wonderful way to drain energy. A lot of people will train their dog to find a little scent box like this that you can put next to the refrigerator in your sock drawer or whatever. The dog's got to walk around the whole house, sniffing the whole house. Nice way to burn some energy, boost his confidence, all this fun stuff. Yes. Yes, I got a photo bomb. Yes. Now this might be, he's a little overly tired. He napped a little bit when we went on a long walk, and this is a little bit of an energy burst. Dogs get zoomies around sunrise and sunset. It's not quite that area, but he's got a spike of energy for sure. So if he has a spike of energy, take him out for a sniff walk. Do the scent games, do the box enrichment or whatever it is. Nothing wrong with having a little burst of energy, but it's just one of those things we want to get him, channel it in the right direction. All right, so on walks, let him sniff as much as possible. If he's not sniffing, stop and do that find it game on pieces of grass. Practice that U-turn. So the U-turn, if he's on my right side, I always turn with the dog on my outside. So I touch the treat to his nose first, then I say turn, then I touch the treat to his nose, then I do a half turn, take 1 step going the opposite direction, and then say yes and release the treat. Take about 12 to 14 paces that way and repeat, and then go back here. So every block, do 2 U-turns so that he just gets used to it. So if you see a dog that he might be reactive to, you do a U-turn, you'll probably do it before he even sees the other dog. You can get him a doggy backpack, put some bottles of water in it. That's a nice way to burn some energy as well. It seems like you guys are doing a good job of exercising him. I just think that adding in the snuffle mat and maybe a couple find its will help a little bit more as well. Let me see, what else do we cover? Rules, try to incorporate some rules. So sit before I open the kennel door, sit before I open this door, sit on every street corner, sit as you're coming back in, sit before you prepare his food. Sit before you pet him. You don't have to do that, but again, the more you teach him to sit before he gets something, the more motivation you give him to want to sit. And it doesn't have to be just sit, but sitting seems to work well for dogs. He's a little bit itchy, and it might just be time of the year. It could be allergies, but you might want to get like some salmon oil. Just get a small container, and then put 1 pump in with his food, swirl it around. For the snuffle mat, put it in a regular container first. Put 1 pump, and then just kind of shake it around to distribute it, and then you can put it in the snuffle mat. It will put a little oil ring in the snuffle mat, but you can wash the snuffle mats like every month or something like that if you need to. But he needs to sleep, take some naps. So again, try to get him more exercise in shorter bursts more frequently. I'm trying to think, what else do we cover? Anything else you want me to go over that we covered?
Reactivity.
Okay, yeah, for the engage disengage game. All right. So basically, for the engage disengage game, at first what we want to do is reward him for the engagement. And so that's him looking at it. Oh, let me back up. So clicker. I'm going to see if I have a clicker in this bag. If not, get yourself a clicker. Load the clicker. Walk around the house. Click, treat, click, treat, click, treat. Do that for about 12 to 15 treats, maybe 3 to 5 times. When you click and he looks up, then you know you're good to go. Also, I would also load, I forgot to mention the pause interrupter. So say beep, 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 give him a treat, walk around the same way. Don't do these back to back, but kind of similar. So that way, remember, if he's getting the trash or something, you may say beep, beep, beep. He looks, beep, beep, beep. Touch. This is more impressive when you come over and touch your nose to it. It's like, I've been working for you for 3 hours, Dave. I don't do it anymore. But again, he would run over, touch, and then you would take him for a sniff walk, carrots, or whatever it is. All right, going back to the reactivity. So he gives great side eye. Every time I look at him, he's like shifting his eyes around. You should be a doggy actor. You have good acting skills. All right, so for reactivity, so first of all, start an app and start a notes page in your app, in the notes app on your phone. Every time he's reactive, move him away, of course. Then afterwards, what is the dog's height and weight? What is its color? What is its breed? What is its energy level? And what is the distance? And what else, where were we? And what else is going around? So try to track those components every time he's reactive. If you find that he's reactive to black and white dogs, find a friend or find somebody in your neighborhood that has a black and white dog. Hey, you guys walk a lot. My dog seems to like barking black and white dogs. I'm just looking for practice. It's one of your neighbors that walks by every day. Find an area where you can practice. Now, for the engage disengage game, I prefer to do it with I have like shrubs and a small clearing. So he has a very narrow point where he field of vision. And the further back away that I get, the shorter that time is. So for a lot of people, I find people in Santa Monica will often go down a driveway. If there's buildings here, if you're right here, your field of vision is really wide. If you walk back into a driveway here, your field of vision shrinks quite a bit. Now he only sees the dog for 3 to 5 feet, and you've moved him away. Which I lower the intensity by either increasing the distance, slowing down the speed, or turning down the volume. And so the idea is we want to set him up for success. He shouldn't react. You should be managing the distance for him. Now, a dog that's very boisterous, you're going to probably need to move further away. A dog that is relaxed or walking quietly, you probably get closer, older dogs. Now, you've been doing it when you're on walks. It's really better to try to do the engage-disengage game in an area where you don't want to be sitting, but where you have a little bit of movement. So I did a loose leash walking class, a reactivity class at Clover Park. If you go on the side where the fire department is, I think that's the west side of the park, there's like some areas that people come in and out, and there's trees and stuff, and there's a lot of people walking dogs. So you can kind of maybe use that area to do that. So you have green space. I like to have green space. He likes to sniff green space, so we want to find space that he can sniff. And he has some distractions and not just staring at the boogie dog. Now, if you find somebody that has those characteristics, and you have a friend who has one, and use social media, ask your friends. You might find a friend of a friend. Try to talk to them at earbuds. Meet at a place like Clover Park at a time where it's not super busy. There aren't a lot of other dogs there. And then you can have them. And if he gets stiff and still, hey, hide. And then they just disappear from view. He's able to shake it off and relax. And then you can go back and move a couple feet further away and practice again. Now remember, the sitting and how many moves a dog has to make before they can start running is an indication of how comfortable they are. So if you ask him to sit and he won't sit, he's saying I'm not comfortable sitting at this distance. Move 5 feet away, ask for a sit again. My 2 tests, can he take a treat that I know he likes, or will he sit? If not, move 5 feet away. And dog training is not a bell curve. It's more like an EKG. You're going to have good days and bad days. Just because one day you were able to get within 10 feet of that dog, the next day you have to be at 20, that's okay. When you're doing the engage-disengage game, count the number of clicks or looks at the other thing, and then count the number of outbursts. Your goal should be like 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 to 0. Now, if he does react, move him away, let him relax, then come back to it again. But remember, when you're doing it, try to do it in that cycle. So about 2 to 4 minutes of doing it. If you're getting a lot of traffic, then move away somewhere where he has no stimulus and you just relax, roll on his back, and just get some belly rubs for about 3 to 5 minutes. Come back, do another 2 to 4 minutes. Move away for about a 3 to 5 minute break, then come back, do it 2 to 4 minutes again. So I just keep the score for all of those. But if you do it right, he should look completely calm and completely relaxed. Don't push too far. Now, for the engage-disengage game, there's 2 parts to it. First, it's engage. So if the camera's the dog, and when you're doing it, make sure that, like, if the dog is walking in this direction, don't be standing on this side of him because he's going to be looking here. So you kind of walk over here. You're trying to turn his field of view. Now, dogs have a really good feel. I could see you as a dog here when I'm looking this way. I don't have to look directly at the camera. But you want to kind of get him looking in that general direction. So kind of position yourself next to him so he's looking in that general direction. And he doesn't have to sit. I just like to use a sit because it's an indication of how comfortable he is. So basically, now he's sitting and he looks at the dog. You say yes or click, and then he looks back at you. And again, if he doesn't look, put the treat in his mouth. Don't wait for him. The faster you get the treat in his mouth, the better. Now, another thing you can do, and you probably have to wait for the temperature to cool down a little bit. Can he have cheese? So one of the things I'll do is licking and chewing release oxytocin and serotonin, the feel-good hormones. So sometimes what I'll do is get a spoon with peanut butter on it. If I hold the spoon upright like this and the spoon's on top of it, I can get him looking wherever I want. I'm holding the spoon down so I'm not blocking his field of vision. So now the problem is it melts and you're out and about, you don't have a fridge with you. But if you freeze them, it'll last longer. Now, if you get a low thing of cream cheese, not the whipped stuff, the regular stuff, and freeze it overnight, you have a little bucket. So you can hold it here. You can get him looking at it wherever you want. So instead of using treats, dog pops up, lick, lick, lick. The engage, disengage, and this is different than engage, disengage. Engage, disengage is looking, then looking away to get the treat, or then looking and looking away to get the treat. Licking is just, it's an incompatible behavior. I can't launch or bark while I'm licking. I'm getting the feel-good endorphins released, and you can control it. And if you freeze that thing over, just get the little one, but you'll get a lot of licks out of that thing. Now, don't make sure mom doesn't try to use that to make you some empanadas or anything. That'd be disgusting. But then he gets, so he's licking and chewing those, or licking and releasing those endorphins. Now, going back to engage, disengage game, and that might be something you might do like closer to your house, maybe in an alley where you have the peanut butter or whatever. 4:45 to 6 o'clock is when a lot of people are walking their dogs. So that might be a way where you can get yourself like 10, 15 minutes of good licks. And then as soon as the dog disappears, the licks go away. The only time I get a lick is while I'm looking at the other dogs. So that's a little intermission for the engage, disengage game. So the idea is, let's say I'm at 25 feet for this one particular dog, and now I'm to the point where he's looking and looking away, and you're saying yes, he looks away and gets the treat, and he's doing it easily. After I get to that point, I wait for every fifth one. I wait a half second before I say yes. Normally I'd say yes, and I'm going yes, because I want to give him that buffer where he can look and look up at you. That's when you transition from engage game to disengage game. So now we're clicking at first for looking at the dog, but after he starts disengaging, then you're clicking for him looking at you. And we're teaching him to look away from the other dogs. Now when you get to the point where at that distance the dog is starting to disengage faster and faster, then and more reliably, then you can collapse that distance. And so ideally I like to have perpendicular walk. So if where the camera is, the person is walking this way, perpendicular to the dog. And again, you have some shrubberies or whatever, so it's not a wide field of vision. And I start off by going slow, then I walk faster, then I'm walking really fast, power walking, then I'm skipping, then I'm running. And then once we get to that point, and he's disengaging, then I move the person 5 feet closer, or I move 5 feet closer to the stimulus, and we go back to now we're rewarding for the engage and not the disengage. So you kind of go through a cycle of that. First you're rewarding engaging, then you're rewarding disengaging, and gradually getting closer. And you notice that it's about 15 feet is your kind of the range where he starts getting more reactive. Dogs have 3 spaces. There's intimate space, a 3-foot bubble. We're pretty particular. It comes into our personal space just like dogs are. 3 feet to 11 feet is considered social space. That's where they interact, and not as guarded, but it's still kind of sensitive area. Anything beyond 11 feet is considered public space, and dogs are usually indifferent to that. I have a reactive dog named Quest, and he's about the same way. About 10 feet, he's fine. You get closer to 10 feet, that's when he starts getting a little squirrely. So something else you can do is buddy walks. Now it's hard to do because we talked about congestion, how urban Santa Monica is, but if you can find a buddy that has a dog and you're doing engage, disengage, after a while start going for a buddy walk. So you could have person, and dogs on the outside, alternating however it is. We don't want them staring at each other. We just want them doing something together. So they're both walking around. They're like we will both kick that squirrel's butt. We both would have peed on that. We both would have done this. But now they're focused on other things as opposed to each other. And gradually you can get dogs closer and closer. Now keep in mind, once he meets that dog and has a good positive experience, probably can't use that dog again. Nothing wrong with that. We'd like to get your dog to like other dogs and all that. But if that's a dog that you have difficulty with and it's a friend of yours and you don't have anybody else that meets that criteria, you might practice 3 or 4 different places and different occasions before you actually let them get together, because you're probably not going to be able to utilize that dog. But again, make that list and then see if there's characteristics of dogs that match those or that you can find people to help you with. Now, if you can, find a park that has like a nice path in it that people jog through. You could use, north of Montana. But again, just find a spot where you can kind of ebb and flow and it has nice big open grass. And also be aware of the other things. Remember, helicopter, beeping, crying baby, weed eater. Those things are going to make him more stressed. So don't do it when you have those things going as well. You want to just focus on just what you're focused on. Let me see. Anything else? I'll check and see if you have a clicker. If not, get a clicker. And remember, clicker and the leash in one hand, treat pouch in the other one. Now the treat pouch I use, I've gone through a whole bunch of these. This one is broken, so you didn't get the good experience. But this thing I normally yank open, like this, and it stays open like that. So it's easy for me to grab a treat out. Some of them, all right, that's what it does. I got to hold it like that. But a lot of people have things with zippers and but you only have 3 seconds. So if I have this in my hip and open, I can boom, 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 and fill the sucker up. So have more treats than you need. This is the mini treat pouch from PetSafe. They have a bigger version of it, but it's from PetSafe. And this is, I've gone through a whole bunch. This is the one I like the most. I don't own the company or anything like that, but it's just a good one to do. And it's just good. You can put poop bags, your clicker, everything in here. And also this motion, if he sees you moving your hand there, that's almost like, ooh, he's getting ready to give me a treat. I kind of forget about other things. Did I talk about the kennel thing on this, or is that talking about right that beforehand? For separation anxiety. Okay, it's going to be a little bit longer than I anticipated. So for the kennel, put him in the kennel, take a step away, walk back to him, give him a treat. Take 2 steps away, walk back, do a circle. Walk all the way to your door, eventually touch your handle, then go back to him and give a treat. Touch your handle and close the door 10%, open it back all the way, go back to him, give a treat. Keep on working your way up to eventually you can close the door. And if he seems to be having problems, you can close the door with you inside. Then open it all the way, go back to give him a treat. But eventually, walk outside the door, close it a little bit, and then walk back to him, give him a treat. Once you get to the point where you can close the door, close it, and immediately open the first couple times. That's a really hard one. And I would be watching him on my camera on my phone when I'm doing that, because if he gets up or starts oscillating, that shows he's uncomfortable. We want to be completely relaxed and content while we're doing all this. And eventually you get to the point where you close the door, and you step outside, and you're waiting 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Eventually you close the door and come out here and watch a little TV, eat a little dinner or whatever, but gradually ramp it up. A lot of people go, okay, I'm at 5 minutes, let's try 20 minutes. That's way too big a jump. So I don't want to say second by second, but kind of ebb and flow, but watch on the camera, and if you do a big jump, make sure you watch that a couple times. And also be aware of what else is going on. If you have kids in the pool, or people are doing deliveries and stuff like that, it's going to make it harder to practice that. But practice when you don't need it is really important. So practicing having him in the crate while you're out of the room is going to help insulate him from that separation anxiety. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There is, message me. I don't charge phone calls or texts. I want you to reach out to me. Now, what I'd like you to do is watch this video and watch the video above on the stop jumping, and watch it once a week until when you watch it, there's nothing else in these videos. At that point, if you're still having problems, call me. I can come back and set up another session. But most of my clients who do that each week, after a while, it just helps you get back on course. And after a while, like, the problem's gone. I don't need it, which would be great. So, yeah. All right, buddy. Oh, that cherry picker. There we go. All right, Roman, get this one. All right, Roman, sit. You didn't really face the camera before. This is my buddy Roman. Isn't he a good-looking dog? This is Roman's roadmap to success. I'm not getting a good alliteration. This is Roman. This is Roman's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.